Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Going to have a look at natural gas for what could be some very interesting weeks coming up, starting with having a look at some potential June contract crash, having a look at the fundamentals and some reflection about the rig counts versus the price and what could be the possible scenario for the coming weeks. So let's get started with the June contract crash, which is now at that point getting actual possibility. Still think the probability is reasonably low, but it's definitely a red flag and clear warning for those holding the long June contract, because this is a possibility that the June contract might actually go to zero. We'll quickly explain why, but the first reason is that we're having a massive Contango, which is now running at 10%, up from 6 last week, I think, or 7. So this is not sustainable in terms of how the June contract will behave. So either we are going to see the spot price shooting up sharply, so we can actually get that Contango back to something a bit more normalized, like between 3, 4, potentially 5%, even if it's still very high, since we're sitting now 2 weeks ahead of expiry. But something we'll have to give. So either we are going to put a massive selling pressure on the June contract, or we are going to see the spot price showing up. So at this stage, also what is concerning is the volume is still trading relatively high. So if it doesn't actually reduce and balance a bit more to the July contract and potentially August, then we're going to see a lot of these contracts expiring within the next 2 weeks as we're approaching the expiry day. So similar situation we had on the WTI when the May contract went negative, could possibly happen for the June contract on natural gas. Understanding that the fundamentals are different, that natural gas is a bit it's not the same in terms of the market. It's very US localized, but still the risk is there. So I wouldn't really recommend holding the June contract long at this point, because it's just too risky. July is probably safer. Also they will put pressure on this 182, and depending on the spot price might actually go down as well. But yes, so yeah, that's the first thing. No, in terms of the fundamentals, and I'm going back to what's the impact on the scenario I'm looking at for next week, for the next 2 weeks. But the fundamentals are quite interesting at the moment, because the number of rigs been dropping massively recently. We can see here that we are now sitting just above 75, which is the lowest we have since we have some record about the number of rigs. So it is a massive drop. So the question is why this drop didn't materialize in terms of reducing the production significantly, so we can see the price shooting up. I've been looking at the 2016 situation. That's been very similar to what we have now, with the price continuing the way down without any major spike. And what was interesting on this was to see that the number of rigs did decline significantly as well, together with the price, until at some point the number of rigs stopped reducing, and we could see the price continuing, and with some delay we saw the price shooting up above $2. I believe it went actually higher than this, but I think that's what's showing on that front month contract. So yes, I think in terms of the what's happening at the moment is we can see that the 75 is sitting very low, so we are sitting pretty much here, even lower than the 95, while the price is still sitting a little bit higher. So at some point the price will struggle to push lower, because simply the production will decline so much that it will actually have to catch up. So I think in the coming weeks or months, that's the scenario that we'll see, is definitely having a move higher, significantly higher, especially if the demand is picking up. But now, back to this, we definitely have an issue with the June contract and the 2 weeks coming before we can see any significant move up. So I'm going to have a look at the two scenarios. So the first one would be, should we experience a June contract crash? Didn't have a look at the quote report, but there's no much to say between the top here and almost the bottom here. We had massive open interest increasing, management reduced long and adding short significantly, which is also pointing to a very high selling pressure on the June contract. So definitely not positive and no divergence in that move. So that was a significant move, but backed up by the position of the trader. So we are now back on that trend line on the RSI. I was looking for quite a while in terms of getting a proper reversal. Cannot rule out that the move to 213 did actually clear up the divergence entirely, which is definitely not a good sign for the move to actually start getting some momentum up from here. There's still a possibility, but of course we need to keep an eye on the June contract and what will happen, because should it crash significantly, it will impact all the other contracts, and of course we'll have some selling pressure on nat gas here. And even if the drop is not massive, we're going to probably break that trend line down and go further down and test the 150. That would be the last line of resistance before we start dropping much lower. The next support is sitting at 130, so the significant drop underneath that we could actually come and visit. Now, the other scenario that we could still have is the reversal continuation, which would be, instead of breaking down lower here, we would straight away get some accumulation around here. I don't think we'll shoot up straight away, but potentially something like this alongside the week, until we can actually start getting some momentum back to the 180. That will definitely give some room until the contract expiring, but we can definitely expect some selling pressure. But as long as we can protect that RSI trend line here, that's basically what matters most in my opinion. But I think that scenario now, I would give it a 50% chance for both, and I really don't have a major preference. So yes, need to be really careful if you're holding long on the June contract specifically. That could be potentially very dangerous. Also, I think that mainly the brokers will avoid getting into negative in terms of the traders' accounts, but still it has to be kept in mind that selling pressure will definitely resume, and that it could actually go quite bad for the June contract. So yes, that's about it. I'm gonna have a look at this midweek again and see how we go. Should we protect that trend line here and move higher, then we can start talking about testing the 200 MA and potentially breaking higher. But yes, until we actually clear the Contango issue we have between June and July, selling pressure will remain. So be careful and safe trade, and speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.